Sigma females live in a world that rarely understands them. They move differently, think differently, and feel things that most people never notice. To the outside world, they seem calm and mysterious, but beneath that quiet surface is a woman who experiences life in a very unusual way. What seems ordinary to others often feels intense or even strange to her. This video explores those odd experiences, the subtle, powerful moments that define what it feels like to be a Sigma female. These moments are not about superiority or attitude, they're simply the natural effects of seeing the world from an independent mind. Sigma females don't follow social scripts. They don't rely on group approval or crowd validation. Because of that, their lives often include patterns and sensations that others might find weird. Whether it's a deep attachment to silence, an unusual creative rhythm, or the strange mix of being visible and unseen, these women notice things others overlook. Most people move through life trying to fit in. Sigma females move through life trying to stay true. That difference changes how they connect with others, how they process emotion, and how they find peace. Their independence doesn't come from rebellion, it comes from understanding themselves. In this video, we'll look at 10 weird phenomena that every Sigma female experiences. These aren't supernatural or exaggerated ideas. They're subtle truths that reflect how deeply these women think and feel. You'll recognize how her strength often comes wrapped in stillness, and how her distance is really just peace disguised as mystery. By the end, you'll understand why Sigma females experience life in ways that confuse some people but empower them in silence. These moments aren't strange once you see them clearly. They're simply signs of a mind that refuses to be ordinary. Phenomenon number 1, feeling deeply connected to silence. For most people, silence feels uncomfortable. They fill quiet moments with noise, chatter, or screens because stillness makes them uneasy. For the Sigma female, silence feels like home. She doesn't need to fill the air with words or distraction. In silence, she feels clarity, not emptiness. This connection to silence is one of the first signs of her difference. While others crave stimulation, she craves calm. Her thoughts flow better in quiet spaces. Her energy recharges in solitude. She doesn't avoid people, she simply needs silence to stay balanced. It's in those quiet moments that her mind becomes most alive. She notices details others overlook. She reflects on her goals, her emotions and her choices. She doesn't fear silence because she understands that peace doesn't live in noise. Sometimes people misread her love of silence as coldness or disinterest. They assume she's distant or detached. But for the Sigma female, silence is connection, to herself, to her thoughts, and to the world in its truest form. Noise often distracts, but quiet reveals truth. This deep connection also makes her highly self-aware. She doesn't need external voices to guide her because she's comfortable listening to her inner one. That's why she makes decisions confidently. Her stillness is not hesitation, it's reflection. The Sigma female doesn't chase excitement to feel alive. Her calmness is her energy. Silence doesn't isolate her, it empowers her. It gives her the strength to face a noisy world without losing her center. While others try to escape quiet, she seeks it, and that's one of her most defining experiences. Phenomenon number 2, not fitting into the usual social ladder, but still being noticed. Every society has a social ladder. People who lead, people who follow, and people who blend in. The Sigma female doesn't fit anywhere neatly. She's not the loud leader who seeks control, nor the follower who seeks safety. She moves outside the system altogether, and that's what makes her stand out. She doesn't chase status or social validation. Her confidence doesn't depend on being admired. But ironically, her refusal to play the game makes people notice her even more. The world senses something different in her, a quiet self-assurance that doesn't need attention to exist. This creates an odd experience for her. She often feels disconnected from social structures, but simultaneously observed by them. People may gossip about her, speculate about her life, or feel curious about her calmness. She doesn't demand attention, yet she attracts it without trying. The Sigma female's distance confuses people. They can't label her easily. She's polite but not eager, confident but not arrogant, independent but not hostile. That unpredictability makes her magnetic and mysterious. Because she operates outside of traditional roles, she sometimes feels like an outsider. But she accepts that position with ease. She doesn't see it as isolation, she sees it as freedom. From that position, she can observe people clearly without being trapped by their expectations. The strange thing is that while she may not seek influence, she often gains it naturally. People end up respecting her independence, even if they don't understand it. She becomes the quiet voice that others listen to when things fall apart. So while the Sigma female doesn't belong to any rank in the social order, she ends up creating her own space, one defined not by power or popularity, but by presence. That's why she's both outside the system and above it at the same time. Phenomenon number 3, attracting advice. Unsolicited, even when she hasn't asked for it. The Sigma female often finds herself surrounded by people who offer her advice she never asked for. Strangers, friends, and even co-workers feel the urge to tell her what she should do, even though she rarely seeks guidance. It's a strange experience that follows her wherever she goes. This happens because her calm confidence unsettles people who don't understand it. When someone seems composed and mysterious, others assume she must be missing something, that she's too quiet, too private, or too detached to know what's best for herself. They project their own insecurities onto her. She listens politely, but rarely takes that advice to heart. She's respectful, but she trusts her own instincts first. She knows that most people give advice based on what they would do, not what truly fits her path. And since she walks her own road, their words often feel unnecessary or misplaced. What makes this phenomenon weird is that the Sigma female is usually the one people come to for wisdom, not the other way around. She gives grounded, honest insight without drama. But when she's the target of constant guidance, she often sees it for what it is, an attempt by others to feel useful or superior. The Sigma female doesn't get angry about it. She simply filters. She hears people out, picks what resonates, and discards the rest. That balance allows her to stay peaceful while maintaining independence. Over time, she learns to smile through the advice and move forward quietly with her own plan. She doesn't correct people or explain her choices. She just lets her actions speak. And when her calm decisions lead to success, those same voices often return, now asking her for advice. Phenomenon number 4, experiencing bursts of creativity or insight. When alone in odd places, the Sigma female's mind doesn't follow a schedule. Her most powerful ideas rarely arrive at predictable times. They come suddenly, during a walk, in the middle of the night, or while she's sitting somewhere quiet and unremarkable. These moments of unexpected clarity are a defining part of her experience. While others find creativity in external excitement, she finds it in solitude. Her thoughts sharpen when the noise fades. The stillness allows her mind to wander freely, connecting dots that most people overlook. What feels like silence to others feels like inspiration to her. These creative bursts can seem random, but they come from deep observation. Because she's always paying attention to people, patterns, and emotions, her brain quietly collects information until it forms something meaningful. Then suddenly it clicks. This is why Sigma females often surprise others with insightful comments or unexpected solutions. They don't brainstorm loudly, they think quietly until something brilliant surfaces. Their creativity doesn't crave recognition, it seeks understanding. The odd part is that these moments rarely happen when she's trying to force them. They appear during stillness, folding laundry, driving alone, or sitting under a tree. She's learned to trust those moments because they never lie. This pattern can make her seem distracted or distant, but she's far from that. When her mind drifts, she's often working on something unseen, solving a problem, creating a plan, or forming a new perspective. The Sigma female doesn't need a studio, a crowd, or pressure to create. She only needs space. That's where her mind unlocks its potential. Her quietness is not laziness, it's where her power gathers before it speaks. Artatans. Phenomenon number 5, others expecting her to share everything. Yet she keeps parts hidden. People are naturally curious about the Sigma female. Her mysterious aura draws attention, and because she doesn't reveal much, others often want to know more. They ask questions, push for stories, and sometimes even get frustrated when she doesn't open up easily. It's as if her privacy itself becomes a challenge. What people don't realize is that she isn't secretive out of fear. She's selective out of wisdom. She knows that not every person deserves full access to her mind or emotions. She measures trust through consistency, not charm. The Sigma female believes that transparency should have purpose. She shares when it helps growth or connection, not when it's just to fill silence. That's why she keeps certain parts of herself reserved. Those hidden layers are not about deception, they're about protection. This behavior confuses people who are used to open books. They assume that keeping things private means something is wrong. But for the Sigma female, privacy is peace. It's how she keeps her inner world safe from judgment and misunderstanding. She reveals herself slowly, in stages, to those who've earned it. When she does open up, her honesty is deep and raw, never performative. But until then, she stays composed, letting her actions reveal what words can't. The strange part of this phenomenon is how others respond. Her restraint often makes her more intriguing. People sense that there's depth beneath her calm exterior, and they want to see it. The less she says, the more they wonder. The Sigma female has learned not to explain this. She knows that mystery protects authenticity. What's private stays powerful, and that's how she maintains balance in a world that overshares. Phenomenon number 6, being labeled intimidating by those who don't know her well. The Sigma female doesn't try to be intimidating. She doesn't raise her voice, demand attention, or show off. Yet, people often describe her that way, as someone who seems unapproachable or too serious. It's one of the strangest and most consistent experiences she faces. This happens because her confidence is quiet. Most people are used to confidence that performs, loud, expressive, always visible. But hers is internal. She doesn't need validation, and that calm certainty can make insecure people uncomfortable. They feel her strength even when she's silent. Her eyes often hold directness. Her posture communicates self-respect. She listens more than she talks, and when she does speak, her words carry weight. That subtle power can easily be mistaken for arrogance or emotional distance. The truth is simpler. She's not trying to impress anyone. She's focused, thoughtful, and selective about where she invests energy. That level of focus is rare, and people sometimes project their own uncertainty onto her. They assume she's judging them when she's actually just observing quietly. This intimidating label doesn't bother her much. She knows that perception isn't truth. The people who take time to know her discover warmth, loyalty, and depth beneath the calm surface. The ones who judge her from afar never see the real person, and she's fine with that. The irony is that the same people who once found her intimidating often end up admiring her later. Once they realize her strength comes from peace, not pride, their fear turns into respect. The Sigma female understands that not everyone is comfortable with quiet confidence. But she never waters herself down to make others comfortable. She'd rather be misunderstood for being strong than accepted for pretending to be weak. Phenomenon on number 7, being both seen and unseen. People respect her from a distance. One of the strangest experiences for Sigma females is this paradox. She's visible, yet invisible at the same time. People notice her presence, remember her energy, and respect her, but rarely approach her deeply. It's as if she exists just outside the circle of attention, both admired and distant. This happens because she doesn't seek validation or attention. She doesn't need to insert herself into every conversation or social situation. Yet her calm presence naturally stands out. She carries herself with quiet strength that others sense even without interaction. People often talk about her more than they talk to her. They recognize her intelligence, her independence, and her composure, but they hesitate to get too close. Some are unsure how to approach her, others assume she prefers solitude. The Sigma female feels this duality often. She's part of the world, but slightly detached from it. She can be in a crowd and still feel like an observer rather than a participant. It's not loneliness, it's awareness. She enjoys connection but doesn't depend on it to feel whole. This strange visibility from a distance gives her an unusual kind of influence. People look up to her without her trying to lead them. They seek her opinion when it matters, because they know she won't speak just to be heard. She speaks when it counts. Being both seen and unseen allows her to live freely. She experiences the benefits of being respected without the chaos of constant attention. That balance lets her maintain peace in a noisy world. The Sigma female doesn't chase the spotlight because she doesn't need it to shine. Her presence is quiet but lasting, and that's why people remember her even after she leaves the room. Phenomenon number 8, facing conflict alone. Even in a crowd, because she doesn't rely on the group. Sigma females have a unique kind of independence that can feel lonely at times. Even when surrounded by people, they often handle their struggles alone. They don't depend on group support to face conflict or challenges. They prefer to deal with problems directly and privately. This habit can seem strange to others. Most people instinctively turn to friends, family, or colleagues for help when life gets heavy. The Sigma female, however, turns inward first. She processes situations deeply before she lets anyone in. It's not that she doesn't trust people, she simply trusts herself more. She knows that outside opinions can sometimes cloud her judgment. By staying centered and calm, she's able to find her own path through difficulty. When she does share her struggles, it's usually after she's already processed them. She speaks about solutions, not just emotions. That level of self-reliance makes people think she doesn't need help, but the truth is she just prefers peace over chaos. This independence can be both empowering and isolating. It gives her control over her life, but it also separates her from others who bond through shared struggles. Still, she accepts that trade-off. She knows her solitude during hard times sharpens her resilience. The Sigma female's ability to face conflict alone is one of her most defining traits. Hence, it makes her strong, composed, and grounded. Others might see it as detachment, but it's actually courage. She doesn't avoid pain. She simply chooses to handle it quietly and on her own terms. This phenomenon shapes how she moves through life, calm in storms, steady under pressure, and always ready to rebuild. Phenomenon number 9, feeling different. Rhythms of energy. Sometimes hypersocial, often deeply solo. The Sigma female doesn't live with constant emotional rhythm. Her energy shifts between two extremes, moments of strong social connection and long periods of deep solitude. To outsiders, this can seem confusing. One day she's engaging, confident, and full of conversation. The next, she disappears into her own world without warning. This shift isn't inconsistency, it's balance. The Sigma female understands that her mind needs both stimulation and recovery. When she's social, she's fully present, charming, and insightful. But social interaction drains her faster than it does others. Once she feels her energy depleting, she instinctively retreats to recharge. This pattern often surprises people who don't understand her nature. They take her sudden withdrawal personally, assuming she's bored or upset. In truth, she simply values rest as much as action. Her solitude isn't rejection, it's maintenance. During her solo phases, she reflects, resets, and creates. Her mind comes alive in silence, and her creativity flourishes when she's away from noise. Then, when she's ready, she steps back into the world with calm confidence and renewed focus. This constant ebb and flow of energy is part of what makes her hard to categorize. She's not an extrovert or introvert in the traditional sense. She's both, depending on what her inner balance demands. That adaptability allows her to thrive in different environments without losing her identity. The Sigma female accepts that her energy isn't built for constant exposure. She doesn't apologize for disappearing, because she knows that every retreat prepares her for stronger engagement later. To her, balance isn't found in always being present. It's found in knowing when to pause. Phenomenon number 10, being comfortable with her shadow self. The side she rarely shows. While many people hide their flaws or weaknesses, the Sigma female quietly accepts hers. She doesn't pretend to be perfect, nor does she over-explain her imperfections. She acknowledges that her strength comes not from denial, but from self-awareness. Her shadow self, the parts of her that are less polished, more complex, even darker, doesn't scare her. She faces it with honesty instead of shame. She understands that every human being has layers of light and shadow, and peace comes from balance, not denial. This self-acceptance gives her unusual emotional depth. She's not afraid to sit with uncomfortable feelings like anger, sadness, or regret. She doesn't bury them. She studies them until she understands their purpose. That's what makes her emotionally mature. She turns self-reflection into self-mastery. People around her often sense this quiet depth. They can tell she's been through struggles, but emerged wiser, not bitter. That aura of inner calm comes from having faced her darker moments instead of hiding from them. Because she's comfortable with her shadow, she doesn't fear other people's either. She accepts complexity in others, which is why people often feel strangely safe around her, even when they can't explain why. Her energy tells them she won't judge what she already understands in herself. The Sigma female's peace comes from integration. She doesn't seek to erase her flaws or hide her mistakes. She uses them as teachers. That self-awareness gives her a quiet, magnetic confidence that makes her appear unshakable. She's not flawless, she's whole. The life of a Sigma female is filled with contradictions that make perfect sense only to her. She's independent but compassionate, distant yet deeply connected, silent but full of insight. What others see as weird is often what makes her powerful. These 10 phenomena aren't signs of confusion, they're signs of clarity. The Sigma female doesn't follow the world's rhythm because she's found her own. She experiences things deeply, processes them quietly, and lives by her own truth. That's why she stands out without trying to. She's comfortable being misunderstood because she knows her value doesn't depend on being explained. Her solitude isn't loneliness, her silence isn't indifference. Each of these traits is simply a reflection of self-trust, something few people ever master. The weirdness she experiences isn't isolation, it's independence. She doesn't resist who she is, she embraces it fully. And in doing so, she reminds others that being different isn't strange. It's strength in its purest form. If you recognize yourself in these experiences, you're not odd, you're rare. You see things others miss, and you feel things others see. That awareness is your power. The world may not always understand Sigma females, but it always feels their presence, calm, wise, and quietly unstoppable.